Welcome. I'm Dr. Cassandra Crifasi with the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Policy and Research. In this section, we're going to be talking about the importance of safe gun storage and the role that unsecured firearms play in child and adolescent gun injuries. In 2017, in the United States, there were 9,464 injury-related deaths among youth aged 17 and younger. Firearms accounted for nearly 20% of these deaths, or 1,814 total firearm deaths among those under 18 years old. Think about the risks we often hear about with regard to childhood death from injury. We hear about pool safety to prevent drowning, preventing falls, and safely storing medications and chemicals to prevent injury. But firearms accounted for more deaths among youth under the age of 18 than drowning, falling, and poisoning combined. Firearm-related deaths are the third leading cause of death behind suffocation and motor vehicle collisions for youth. This graph here shows the distribution of firearm deaths in the United States among youth aged 17 and younger. 50% are the result of homicide, 40% from suicide, and the remainder are broken out among unintentional, undetermined injuries and those from legal intervention. Having guns in the home increases the risk of homicide, suicide, and unintentional shootings. This is particularly true in households with youth. At least one gun is present in 35 to 40% of homes with children under the age of 18. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among those aged 13 to 17, and firearms are used in over 40% of fatal suicide attempts. Safe gun storage limits access to guns by unauthorized users and is a meaningful intervention to reduce gun-related injury, particularly among children. Several studies have demonstrated that safe gun storage is associated with reductions in the risk of self-inflicted injury among adolescents. Some states have passed child access prevention laws that require guns to be stored in a safe manner that prevents unauthorized access by unsupervised youth. These states have lower rates of adolescent gun suicide than states without these laws. Explorations into the sources of guns used by adolescents in school shootings found that most got the gun they used from their home, further illustrating the importance of safe storage. Research has found that more than half of households stored at least one gun in an unsafe manner, unlocked, loaded, or both. There are several ways guns can be stored safely. You can lock them into a gun safe or cabinet. You can store guns in a locking case or locked into a gun rack. External safety devices such as trigger, barrel, or cable locks can also be used. At an absolute minimum, guns should be stored unloaded and separate from ammunition. This picture is an example of a gun secured with a cable lock that renders the gun inoperable as it passes through the ejection port and magazine well. You cannot load the gun or chamber around with the lock in place. This type of lock would be most effective for guns that are not used regularly or do not need to be accessed quickly. There's a misconception that if you own guns for self-defense, that you can't store them in a manner that is safe to prevent unauthorized access and also be able to get to them quickly if they're needed. However, there are many safe storage options that allow authorized users to quickly access their guns and be ready to use them in a matter of seconds. Our center, the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Policy and Research, has conducted multiple public opinion polls on a variety of gun policy topics every 2 years. According to our public opinion polling, more than 70% of U.S. adults support laws that would require gun owners to lock up their guns at home when not in use to prevent unsupervised access by children or teenagers. Despite broad support for responsible gun storage behaviors among both gun owners and non-gun owners, we continue to see youth gaining access to firearms and injuring themselves or others. Here are 2 examples of young children gaining access to unsecured firearms. In the first, a 4-year-old boy found a loaded firearm and severely injured his pregnant mother. In the second, a toddler found a loaded firearm under a pillow and fatally wounded himself with it. These injuries aren't just happening in the home. In conjunction with the increase in civilian gun carrying, we are also seeing increases in gun-related injuries among children outside the home. Here are 2 examples of situations where children are finding guns in cars. In both cases, the guns were left unsecured in family cars. Children found those guns and injured themselves. Guns should be safely stored every time they are out of the immediate possession of the adult gun owner. Even in homes without children, safe gun storage is important as it reduces the likelihood that guns could be stolen for criminal use. Research has found that law enforcement and members of the military are perceived by gun owners to be the best messengers for safe storage. We should engage these groups to craft safe storage messages that will resonate with gun owners to reduce the risk of unintentional gun injuries in children, youth firearm suicide, and sources of guns for criminals. In this section, we discussed the importance of safe storage and the role that unsecured firearms play in injuries among children and youth. I would encourage you as students to consider the role of safe firearm storage in the community and how you can be engaged with community members and others to address safe storage.